Today on Talk to Kimi, I'm delighted to welcome a man who needs no introduction, the wonderful Mr. Ian Rankin. Hi Ian, how are you?
Well, I'm as well as can be expected. It's cold and it's wet in Edinburgh, and I've just had the notes from my editor of things he wants me to change in my next book. Apart from that, everything's hunky-dory.
Okay, so you're going to be quite busy.
Yeah, it's not that I'm going to be, I don't mind being busy, but it's more the fact that you always think you've written the perfect book, and then you hand it over to someone and they say, I don't understand this, or I don't know why this happens, or I don't like that character. And you realise, yet again, you failed to write the perfect book.
Better finding that out pre-publishing than afterwards, so...
Well, but when it's published, there's still going to be somebody that comes up and says, I don't understand why that happens, or I don't like that character, or I think you've got that bit wrong. So, yeah, it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. And there are plenty of mistakes in the Rebus books that have made it into the final version. And also because, it just keeps me ashamed and embarrassed.
Okay.
Mortification is the name of the game. But what I would like to do is, eventually, maybe when I'm dead, they'll put together the director's cut, which will be the versions of the books before the editor got their hands on them.
Okay, going back to the early days, Ian, professional experiences were slightly different to being a successful author.
I was a swineherd, and it was only 2 pigs, so it wasn't a hard job. But yeah, I had a variety of jobs because I couldn't make any money as a writer. I wasn't, writing was a hobby. When I started off, writing was a hobby, and I didn't know anybody who made a living from writing. So I wasn't aware that you could make a living from writing. So I thought, well, it's nice if it's a hobby, and if it's a hobby that you get paid a few quid for, so much the better. But I had I studied English at university, which really didn't train me up for any job whatsoever. So when they dragged me kicking and screaming out of Edinburgh University, and I had to enter the cold, hard commercial world, I pretty much took on any job that was going, and there wasn't much around.
No.
So I worked in a tax office in Edinburgh for a while. I worked as a secretary at a polytechnic. I went to France. When I was in France with my girlfriend, that's when I worked on a vineyard, and attached to the vineyard was a small farm. So that was when we looked after the pigs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was me being a swineherd.
Okay.
And it was just anything that would give us a few quid, basically.
And just put food on the table.
Yeah, kind of. I was kind of lucky in a way that that I was a young man at a time when you actually could get a job. There were jobs around, and even if you were a student, every holiday, Easter, Christmas, and summer, I would go and work in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
There were factory jobs to be had, but I just don't see them these days. And it's all 0 hours contracts. And suddenly those days when a working class student, A, got paid to go to uni,
mm-hmm.
Got paid enough money to live on, B, got it all for free, all the education was free, and C, there were jobs around so that during the breaks you could actually make some more money.
Mm-hmm.
That just seems like halcyon days now. You tell it to young kids and they don't believe you.
You think they just made it up.
I know.
Ian, you've won almost every crime literary award going. Which one would you sacrifice for a Blue Peter badge?
For a Blue Peter badge, I was never a big Blue Peter fan, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't give away any of my awards for that. I was a magpie man. That was the opposition. That was the kind of right-on, trendy opposition. That was on ITV, or STV would have been at the time. And the presenters were allowed to have long hair. And it was just seen as being a kind of, I don't know, it was not quite as stuffy. I can still sing you the song. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, and 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret never to be told. Magpie. There you go.
Superb. So you could have been a singer as well.
I was a singer. I was a singer for 6 months in a punk band, and you just heard how good it got.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised you never charted. Ian, one of your most, or maybe the most, recognisable character is Rebus. Where did inspiration for Rebus come from?
Well, I think it was the plot that jumped into my head. First, it was the story that jumped into my head. I got the notion of this guy who was being sent basically picture puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
And a rebus is a picture puzzle. If you look up rebus in the dictionary, it means a picture puzzle. And so I had a character, and I thought, well, I'll be smarter, so I'll call him Rebus, which means picture puzzle. And he's getting sent these things, and they're from somebody from his long past who's tormenting him and teasing him, and who's out to destroy him. And that was pretty much what I got. And I've still got the original page of notes that I wrote. I scribbled down, sitting in my student bed sit in Arden Street in Edinburgh around about 1984. And it said main character character may be a cop. And the person who's teasing him with these notes is somebody from his past who's out to destroy him.
Okay.
And that was it. I mean, I didn't know anything about the police. I didn't read crime fiction at the time. I'd watched a lot of cop shows on TV when I was a kid, but I didn't read crime fiction. I think I'm almost the only crime writer I know who didn't read crime fiction before they started writing it. And Rebus just jumped into my head. I mean, something had happened in his past, and he managed to blank it out. He managed to put it in a wee compartment in his head and forget about it. So he had to be a certain age, because this thing had happened to him in adulthood. Then time had passed. I thought, okay, he's around about 40 years old. There were a few cops who used to drink in the same bar as me in Edinburgh, and I just, a lot of them were divorced. A lot of them drank a bit too much because of the kind of pressure of the job, and they all smoked like chimneys. And I thought, okay, I've kind of got this guy. This is the kind of guy he is. So right from the get-go, I knew roughly he would be a loner. He would have a busted relationship. He'd have a kid that he hardly ever saw. He would like his music. He would like his drink, and he would like to smoke.
Both John Hannah and Ken Stott have portrayed very different versions of Rebus. Which one is most like the image that you had of the character?
I've never watched it. I mean, I've never watched the TV shows. I've got them all on DVD, but I took a decision not to watch them because I didn't want actors' portrayals to interfere with the images of Rebus that were inside my head.
Oh, okay.
I know that fans were a bit disappointed with John Hannah because he was perceived at the time as being a bit too young, a bit too good looking, a bit too soft maybe. Ken Stott, when he took over, a lot of fans were a lot happier about because they felt physically he was more like Rebus. He was kind of a bit heftier, and he had that great scowl, but he also had the kind of humanity, had a kind of warmth to him. I don't know. I mean, fairly recently I was watching a cop show on TV called Spiral, which is actually French, and there's a character in it called Gilou, and the guy who plays Gilou, the actor, I'm going to forget his name, but physically, in terms of the face and everything else, he's fairly close to how I imagine Rebus is.
This year is a very special year for you. You're celebrating your Peril anniversary, but also next year is your Peril anniversary with Rebus. Which one are you going to celebrate more?
Well, for our 30th wedding anniversary, we are flying to New York and jumping on a cruise ship and going up the eastern seaboard to Canada. So that'll be quite fun. That'll be quite fun. Rebus's 30th anniversary is basically happening the whole of next year. So I've not really focused on what's going to happen. I mean, there'll be various tours. There'll probably be special editions of some of the books. We're hoping to maybe put on a few music shows, maybe put on a wee music festival in Edinburgh with bands or with musicians that are discussed or have been important to the Rebus series. We might have a limited edition alcoholic beverage of some kind. It's still being discussed, but it's going to take the whole year. The whole year is going to be like a year of celebration. So, it seems like a long way off, and there's not been an awful lot of planning that's happened yet. So, whereas my wedding anniversary is next month, and I'm on it.
Right, okay, you're on it. Okay, so you've not left your wife to deal with everything.
Well, I kind of have, but anyway.
Yeah, but it sounds better.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay. Ian, I actually remember when I was 11, I read my first two grown-up books. The first one was Noughts and Crosses, obviously Rebus's intro, and the second one was Jacqueline Susan's Valley of the Dolls.
Wow.
I've managed to steer clear of drugs and brothels and prostitution. I am, however, hooked on crime. Now, you've already said that you didn't read crime books before you started writing. Was there any other book that appealed to you when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't seek out crime novels or crime writers when I was young, but I mean, what I did tend to do was read books that films had been made of that I wasn't old enough to go and see at the cinema.
Okay.
Because to me, books to me were dangerous, and they were kind of taboo. There were things you weren't supposed to get access to. So at age 11 or 12, I was reading A Clockwork Orange and The Godfather, stuff like that.
Okay.
So anything that had been in the cinema and was an X certificate, if it was also in book form, I would try and read the book, because I think this is grown-up stuff. This is dangerous stuff, dark and dangerous. And I was reading a lot of thrillers. My dad was a fan of Alistair MacLean, the Scottish-born thriller writer major
movie.
Picture of a film. So, I would read Where Eagles Dare and Ice Station Zebra and Guns in Navarone, kind of boys' own adventure stories. And I moved on from that fairly seamlessly to things like Frederick Forsyth, John le Carré, and Robert Ludlum, the Bourne
the Bourne author.
So I was a kind of sucker for thrillers, but then I kind of got into literature, and when I got into literature, I thought, I'm not supposed to read mainstream fiction anymore. That's off the curriculum now.
Okay.
So it took me a while. It took me a good 7 or 8 years to get back into reading mainstream fiction.
Okay, thanks for that. Ian, a lot of book titles appear to have little or no meaning other than they're catchy. Two of yours, Saints of the Shadow Bible and Standing in Another Man's Grave, there's a very personal relationship there for you and Jackie Leavin.
Yeah, I mean, I've always written about music in the books because I'm a frustrated rock star, and I buy a lot of music, and I thought Rebus will be a music fan as well, and I was a fan of Jackie Leavin's music. Rebus was a fan, so I mentioned Jackie in one of the books, and Jackie happened to be a fan of my books. I didn't know that, and he was reading it, and he saw himself mentioned, so he got in touch with the publisher. He put us in touch with each other. We became friends, and eventually we started working together. We did a show called Jackie Leavin Said, which we did at Celtic Connections in Glasgow, and then we reprised it in Edinburgh at the Queen's Hall, and it was great fun. And it was eventually recorded, and an album went out, and then we toured with the album, etc., etc. And then we were supposed to be doing a show in Belfast one year, and I got a message from his manager saying, "Look, Jackie's not well; he can't make it." And a few days later, he was gone. He died, and we were just absolutely numbed and devastated. He was a young man. He was a great singer-songwriter, great guitarist, great voice, great lyrics. And so I was listening to a lot of his music, and there was this line I'd misheard. I'd heard it standing in another man's grave, and it was actually Rain that he was singing, but I'd misheard it. And it just seemed to me it would make a great title for a crime novel. And I had to fight with my publisher because they said, it's too long for a title. It's far too long. It won't fit on the cover and all the rest of it. And it was a big success. It got to number 1. And so my editor said, look, the next book you do can have a nice big long title, please. And so that was where Saints of the Shadow Bible came from, which is another line from a Jackie Leavin song. And it was one of these lines that I'd always meant to ask him, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
I've got no idea what those words mean. I mean, I know what the words mean, but what does the line mean? Saints of the Shadow Bible, following me from bar to bar into eternity. And I never got around to asking him. So it was me kind of trying to give an explanation to myself about what those words might mean. And I decided I would write a novel based on that.
Ian, recently my wife and I were in Edinburgh and we enjoyed one of the bus tours. And that passed the Oxford Arms. And apparently that pub is visited more than the Queen Vic in EastEnders. When
me it is.
Well, we popped in, but you weren't there, so we just popped out.
That's a rare day.
When was the last time you were on a bus?
When was the last time I was on a bus? It was a while ago. Let me think. Because I tend to try and walk everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, I walk around Edinburgh non-stop. Last time I was on a bus, probably when I was in, I was in London, I was in Oslo. Probably last time I was in London, so it'd be a few months ago.
Okay.
A few months ago. I mean, my wife gave me an Oyster card. She had an Oyster card with some money left on it. And so I took that with me. So, I mean, even when I go to London, I prefer to walk, even if it's like 5 miles. I'd rather walk than take a tube or the bus or a taxi, because it's like you get a real feel for a place when you're on the feet. You see things and hear things that you wouldn't otherwise, encounter. But yeah, I remember one time when I was, somebody had written in the paper saying, Ian Rankin, multi-millionaire crime writer, and I phoned them, the journalist, up and said, I'm on a bus. I was actually reading your piece, and I'm on the top deck of an Edinburgh bus going down Lothian Road. Did you tell me I'm a multi-millionaire? He said, well, was I exaggerating? I said, yeah, just a bit.
Slightly. No, I just wondered whether you had an affinity for buses, and that was where Rebus's name came from. As opposed to...
Rebus.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there is a place in France called the Ile de Ré, and the Ile de Ré does have a bus called the Rebus. A friend sent me a photograph of it, so it's a thing with the kind of Rebus sitting right in front of it.
It's okay.
I mean, I quite like it. I mean, I like the fact that if you use a real city, you ready-made walking tour for any fans who happen to come to the city.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go to Rebus's police station, they can go to Rebus's pub, they can go to the street that Rebus lives on, they can go to the street that Cafferty, the villain in the books, lives on. And so it actually becomes more real. It becomes, it's like it isn't fiction anymore, it's actually real life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reader becomes much more involved. And on top of that, of course, people, I go to the Oxford Bar for a drink, and there'll be people there from all over the world. Who've nipped in because it's Rebus's pub. And I'll also pick up my mail. People send me letters that just says Ian Rankin, Oxford Bar, Scotland. And, stuff sitting waiting for me. It could be books, it could be CDs people have sent, it could just be letters, all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
So that's why I go there. I don't go there to drink, I go there to pick up my mail.
Yeah, of course. No, I never considered the first one. No.
No.
Ian, what is coming up for you for the rest of this year?
The rest of this year's pretty full. I've got holidays coming up, hurrah. I've got Greece next week, and then my wife and I fly to New York and get this boat, and then when we get back from there, we're heading to Cromarty to celebrate my son's 22nd birthday. Then when we get back from Cromarty, it's basically the start of August, and it's the book festival and the Edinburgh Festival and everything else, and I'm busy at those. And in September, we start planning the tour for the next book, because the next book comes out first week of November. So I'll be starting to do interviews for it and start to think about where I'm going to tour in the UK and maybe Canada and eventually the States. And I'm also teaching. I'm teaching 1 day a week at the University of East Anglia. Come September, I'm going to be the visiting professor of creative writing.
Oh, very good.
Get me.
Yeah.
So I know Professor Rankin will be working there 1 day a week, and that's from September till December. And then January, February, a bit more touring, and by then we'll have an idea of what we'll be doing for Rebus's 30th anniversary. So next year I'm supposed to be not writing a book, so next year provisionally should be a quieter year.
Allegedly.
But I've tried this before, it never seems to quite work. The days just fill up, because catch-22, if you're a successful writer these days, 80% of your time is you being a writer, not you doing any writing. In other words, you're doing interviews, you're doing pieces for magazines, you're running around the world, you're doing this, you're doing that, but you're not actually physically writing a book. You're too busy to write a book.
Yeah. Just a couple of last questions for you, Ian. A side plate of chips or a side salad?
These days, salad. These days, salad. I had an awful lot of eating too much. I had months and months and months of being on tours where you end up eating room service dinners in your hotel at midnight, and drinking big milky coffees at 6 in the morning, and I was just piling on away. So I've actually been on a bit of a diet kick recently, and I've lost a lot of weight, and I'm delighted about that. So I've kicked the chips. I've kicked the chips into touch.
Good for you.
I say that, yesterday I had a pie.
Yeah, but it's okay. If it's only one a day.
I had a healthy, nutritious pie.
Okay. You're on a desert island with a beautiful mermaid. Would you rather their top half fish or bottom half fish?
Oh, bottom half fish.
Definitely bottom. Okay.
Yeah, bottom half fish, because if the top half fish, you can't have an intelligent conversation with them.
Yes, well, I never considered that. That was way down my list.
You see? After the obvious sex, you're going to want to have a chat.
That's true.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to talk to a fish, as I have found.
And it's not going to be easy to have sex with a bottom half fished mermaid.
You know what? Biology finds a way.
That's it. There's ways around.
Biology always finds a way. Life will find a way.
If you woke up as your wife for 1 day only, what would you do?
I don't know. She's got a really busy life. I'd be running around doing all the things that she does. She's just back from walking Hadrian's Wall with a few friends. And she's got various charity things that she runs, and until recently she was a member of the children's panel, and she plays bridge in a group of friends, and she's got a much busier life than I have. So I'd probably wake up going, how long have I got before my first commitment of the day? But it's when I wake up in the morning, I go coffee, paper, crossword, check my emails, and I just basically fart about for the first 3 or 4 hours.
Okay. Right, finally, last question you'll be glad to hear. Football's a funny old game. Now, you support Wraith Rovers, who had a great season last year with Ray McKinnon. and I support Dundee United,
All right.
who really didn't. But we've stolen your manager.
Indeed, you have.
Who do
and
you?
I think the manager of our youth team as well.
Yeah, sorry about that one. And we stole Brian Graham a few seasons ago. But
Yeah.
Anyway,
Going to be some grudge matches coming up. I'll tell you.
I know, but who do you personally think will finish highest in the league?
I think. Well, I mean, looking at current form, you're going to have to go something to beat Hibs.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think Hibs would have the beaten Dundee United at the moment. But I mean, McKinnon's such a good manager. He's such a great motivational manager. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And Hibs might think, oh, we've won the cup now. We can rest easy. Yeah. Dunfermline are coming up. I mean, I've not seen Dunfermline for a while, but the thing is, the Championship is such a tough league.
Mm-hmm. I think it's tougher than. Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely tougher than. I mean, it's just the games. The how close the games are. You've got Queen of the South, Falkirk, Hibs, Dunfermline, Raith, Dundee United. These are all. I mean, on their day, any one of these teams can beat any of the others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But Raith had a pretty good season. So
fingers.
Just not quite good enough.
Well, fingers crossed. Both of us will be happy at the end of next season.
Yeah, somebody will be happier than the other, that's for sure.
And well, maybe
either you'll be happier than me, or I'll be happier than you.
Well, I'll maybe arrange another conversation with you.
Yeah.
Okay, Ian Rankin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimi.